What's up, everybody? Welcome to Into the Necrosphere number 35. On this episode, I am going to be joined by Zen and Tentakel of the awesome Omega Infinity. I have been talking up this interview for quite a while now, and I have also been talking up Omega Infinity's debut record, Solar Spectre, which came out back in March. So if you haven't heard that album yet, stop what you're doing immediately, listen to the record, and then tune back in for my conversation with them. They dialed in, or they jumped on the Zoom machine all the way from Australia and Germany, respectively, and we spoke about the record and a whole bunch of other shit, including we got quite philosophical about the coronavirus lockdown. So really fun conversation. Two really awesome guys, and yeah, like I said, if you have not heard that album yet, I know I have been at times accused of being prone to exaggeration. So I'm going to try and soften my my use of words here slightly. Solar Spectre is fucking unbelievable. Anywho, speaking of unbelievable, my demo of the week, which this week finds us all the way from Finland. It's a band called From the Void, and it was not actually the band that submitted this to me. It was a listener of the show, Mikko Lund, also from Finland, and he actually posts under his own, or he posts some of his own stuff on Twitter under the name the Von Lund Abomination Orchestra, which I've also heard, and that's also excellent. So I might play some of that at some point in the not too distant future. But Mikko clearly knows my taste in music, because From the Void is exactly the kind of blackened or death black combination that I like. They brought out an independent EP in 2018 called Honen Valonsa, and apparently are in the process of recording a full-length record. I don't know whether they signed to any particular label. If they're not, I would say a lot of A&R guys have fucking seriously dropped the ball. But in the meantime, I wanted to play this to you guys because I absolutely love it. This is a track off of Honen Valonsa. This is From the Void with Man Created God.
Man created God, crucified him, left him bleeding, watch him die. Join the warrior, go with me.
That was From the Void out of Finland with a song called Man Created God. And do go and check them out on Facebook. They've got a bunch of really cool merchandise that they're selling, I think, through Bandcamp. That EP, Honen Valonsa, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, is available on most streaming platforms. And like I said, they are in the process of putting together a new record. So I would hope that they are signed to a record label, because if not, I don't know what the fuck you're supposed to do to get signed in this day and age. But if you are in a band and you want me to listen to your music, then definitely do send me your demo either on email, which you can fire over to intothenecrosphere@gmail.com, or you can connect with me on social media. The show is up on Instagram and Facebook under @intothenecrosphere, and on Twitter @iNecrosphere. So follow the show on there and send me a link to whatever you want me to hear. And if I like what I hear, I will feature it on an upcoming episode of the show. Also, do remember that the show is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, Castbox, Google Podcasts, and a whole bunch of others. So if you've discovered this on YouTube and you prefer listening to podcasts, particularly ones that run in excess of 2 hours, when you're driving, or when you're at the gym, or when you're doing shit around the house, the audio only version is available. Likewise, if you've stumbled onto this on iTunes and you want to be able to see my handsome face, as well as the rugged masculine features of the gentleman that I speak to on the show, then the show is also available on YouTube. And for the most part, I always try and get guys to come up on Zoom. There's been a few where I've not had a video feed, but yeah, for the most part, I like seeing somebody when I'm talking to them. So also, thank you very much to everybody for the really great show of support for last week's show. I know I just spoke about the fine young gentleman that come on the show, but I had Katie from Season of Mist. I was really, really surprised by the response to that. I mean, I had such a fun time talking to her, and she will definitely be back on the show. So thank you to everybody who downloaded it. Thank you to everybody who shared it, and please continue to help and support by getting the word out. And speaking of getting the word is out that Ruins of Beverast have a new split EP out. I'm going to be reviewing that after my interview with Omega Infinity. I will also be talking about the new Burial record. And I will be reading some news. So stick around for that. But for now, please welcome Zen and Tentakel from Omega Infinity. Let's get this motherfucking show on the road. So welcome to Into the Necrosphere, guys. And I just mentioned it a second ago. I know you don't do interviews all that often, and I really appreciate you giving me the time, because I am a massive fan of Solar Spectre, and wanted to meet the creators behind an album that I think is probably one of the most ambitious that I've heard this year. And it kind of especially for a debut, it's sort of it kind of moves into those upper echelons of bands like Ruins of Beverast for me, which is I feel like it transcends the genre of black metal, whilst kind of still retaining at least the core values of the genre. But I think the first and most important thing before we even start talking about the band is, how did you two meet up? How did because I would imagine, this is kind of based around a friendship, or at least a sort of an appreciation of each other's talents. How did all of that get started? And I guess, we can then sort of talk about how it developed into what eventually became Omega Infinity.
I think this is, a mutual appreciation was indeed how it started. Like, we were with our bands, Zen with Necrosphere, I with Todgelichter back then in 2010, I think. We were both on Oral Music, called 666, the label. And I think at one point I don't know who wrote the mail first. It might have been me, I don't know. But I was just like, we wrote mails to each other how much we appreciate each other's music. And then from there, it developed into first an online friendship, and then we started meeting when Necrosphere started touring in Europe, which made it possible for us to meet up. I think the first time was in Hanover, when you
Yeah.
with Der Weg on a
I think
Freiheit.
it's been every time we've been over in Hamburg, we've caught up. So we try to make it a regular thing. Outside of touring, it's a little bit more difficult, but it's because there's only two of us. It does make it a lot easier.
So what first sparked the idea for doing I guess for getting together and doing a project?
That would be for me, I think. The idea to come together, it was like I think the first thing that sparked the band was two other bands actually. With the first one was Konsu, which I'm a big fan of, because I like this approach to space and extreme metal. And the second one was something that might not be that well known, which is a band called Absolutum, a German band consisting of several friends of mine. For example, Christian Kolf, who also did the guest vocals on Mars and Jupiter, who was like one of my most favorite persons ever. He's like everything he does is it's like he can't wrong me. He can do something that I dislike, and he did this band together with the guy of Foilness, which is a German black metal band. Now he has now become a very successful German influencer on YouTube and Twitch now, I think, Krachmucker. And they just did like this extreme black metal thing where I think it's like an album, half an hour, no, not even half an hour, maybe shorter, and it's like just raw and straight to the face. And I was like, this sounds so easy. They just put this album out with all their side projects and bands that they have, and I want to have something that is like this, something that I can just do for myself, that I don't have to where I don't have to put up with other opinions, like in my previous band.
Yeah.
It's like, because it's like this band consists of 6 people, and 6 people with 7 to 8 opinions on everything. Zen knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a similar boat with Neo. We're kind of 6 members, and we're all kind of very different minds because we come from all very varied backgrounds. And when you have that many people, things take a lot longer. It can be a lot more frustrating. If everyone wants to be a potential writer or have a lot of feedback for everything, it does make it very difficult for that to move forward at a quicker pace as to what you would like. Say with this particular project, because there's only 2 of us, efficiency is everything in this project is efficient and happening a lot quicker than any other projects I'm involved with. So I guess leading on from your original question in regards to the music, once he'd sent a few tracks to me in terms of whether I'd be interested in contributing to the project, doing vocals for it. The tracks I heard, it was as soon as I pressed play, the first couple of minutes, continual blast beats, and it was an automatic yes. I would love to.
Yeah. And I think something that people don't necessarily always appreciate is, I mean, both of you guys have been in bands that have been going for quite a few years now, and I think at the ages that we're at, your tastes don't necessarily change radically, but they evolve, and you start getting a preference for other things, and then when you have to balance that out with the tastes of 5 or 6 other people, I think that can become quite creatively stifling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, initially from the onset, when I started Neo, for instance, that was meant to be more of a, I guess, melodic black metal sort of project. Yeah. And, within a couple of years that had changed to, having a lot of progressive influences, which I don't expose myself to much progressive music in general anyway. And so I guess with this particular project, it's almost going back to kind of the black metal roots of what my initial goal was when I set out to start a band. Not to say that Neo in any way is I don't like the music or I'm disappointed with it. Completely the opposite. It's just opened my mind a lot more. But this is going back to a lot of the kind of harsher, kind of more extreme roots that I kind of really like.
Yeah. But then obviously also there's I think the thing that I loved about this, or certainly that first caught my attention, was just the level of ambition and the scale with which this was done. I mean, and it certainly doesn't sound like the first time that two musicians are doing anything together. You would expect an album like Solar Spectre to come from a band who's been together for 4 or 5 records and really kind of have that creative chemistry dialed in. Yeah. I guess the first question that I would have for you out of that is, was that ambition kind of there at the start of Omega Infinity, or was that something that developed organically as you guys kind of progressed through, writing material and collaborating on the project?
Well, I mean, for me, this would be the 12th or the 13th studio album. So naturally, I have my experiences, and I know that Zen also has a few albums that he did in the studio. So there is this kind of experience that you have that you can't. Let me start another way. I think Fenris of Darkthrone once said that in order to present the energy of Darkthrone, in order to convey what Darkthrone is all about, he would need to go back to his first drumming days and play as bad as he played back then, but he just can't because of his practice. So what I'm trying to say is, after all those studio albums and studio experiences, you can't just go back and it's not as if you would start fresh.
Yeah.
But I think what makes it sound fresh is that I have been a drummer all my life. I have played a few other instruments with drum is my instrument. So in the bands I've played in, my main band Totgelichter, I was always the drummer, and what I did is I arranged songs with the bands, but I didn't compose something. It's always Frederick, or a guitar player, he comes, he's got the riffs, he's got the ideas, and then we all make sense of it in some way. But it's not as if I were to it's not as I were to bring the riffs in, bring the melodies, and bring the overall mood of the band.
Yeah.
So this is naturally different now because I don't have any guitar players or bass players. It's all me. So the melodies, the mood, the atmosphere is all in my hands now. And this is the first time that this happened. So this is the first time that you can actually hear what I would compose, because that's what I did there. But that's different from the other bands. So in a way, it's the first album for me as a composer and arranger. Not as a drummer, but I know that many people see the drums as a background thing, because they tend to listen to the vocals and the melodies, of course. So in a way, that was a new experience for me. And you could say it's like the first album that I had made in this, that I have made in regards of moods and melodies. So maybe that's why it sounds like the first, like something you would expect from a first album.
Yeah, and the songs that eventually made it onto the record, if I'm reading you correctly, those songs had been, I guess, in gestation at least for quite a period of time before you started recording. Because I would assume you wrote the majority of the music.
Yes.
So how long? I mean, I guess how far back do some of the songs on this record go? As at least as far as when the main ideas or the initial ideas for them kind of started to establish themselves in your mind?
Would it sound crazy if I told you that I'm actually working on on a release far more in the future? Like, Zen knows how it was like. I sent him 2 songs, and I think 1 month later he had the full album, something like this. Because it was a time. Where I had, let's say, I had much free time at that point in my life, because my wife and I had just become parents a second time, and I was staying at home, but there was like nothing that I can do besides changing diapers and making tea for my wife. So and the rest of the time I used to produce music.
And there came the inspiration, changing diapers.
Yeah,
the horrors of changing diapers. I used to when I changed my
horrors of changing diapers.
Yeah, when I changed my daughter's diapers, I used to do this. Because the smell, as you know, is fucking ungodly, and I would change it, and I'd do almost this like Darth Vader breathing just to get through it, and she would think it's absolutely hysterical and stare back up at me and go. Anyway, but I was about to say, if anything will inspire you to have to work out some of that horror and pain and sorrow and revulsion, it's changing diapers. But
so what I was saying is it generated in a very short time.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned songs that made it on the album, it's like the way I do this is I don't write things that don't get on the album, because I know that many people like Metallica, for example, they start writing songs, and then you have you read in an interview, okay, we had like 40 songs and then we choose 12 of them. I'm not doing that. I'm just how can I explain it? In the process of writing, I think I know pretty much what I want to do. So I think pretty much on albums. I like to listen to albums as a whole. I like to see that the artist has put some thoughts into not only the riffs and the melodies and the overall mood, but I guess I want to hear that the artist has put some thought into kind of a flow between the songs.
Yeah.
Which songs should be at the start? Where does it go from there? So it was all in my mind like before that. And I was just writing the songs for the place where they needed to be. So, and that happened like on a subconscious level. So I guess when I was sitting there writing stuff and it didn't feel like I'm going anywhere with it, I just stopped. And 2 days later, I tried again and see where the song took me from there. If it took me in the direction that I wanted, kind of. So I didn't even get to the point where I wrote stuff that I where I felt it wouldn't get me somewhere in regards to the song structure. So that didn't happen. There is no leftovers. It's like exactly as I wanted it to be.
Yeah, and for both of you, how does that style of writing differ to your main bands and the bands that you guys have been in? As I said earlier, for the better part of the last couple of decades.
Well, there are no other opinions. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, working with Neo, it's kind of when we first released our first album. A lot of it was. Pretty much most of the material we had, and as we, I guess, grew as musicians and more people were involved in and different people were involved in songwriting, more material kind of came up, and we kind of would work on a certain number of songs which we thought would go on the album. We'd kind of go through them, work on them, and if we weren't entirely happy with them, we would set a certain portion of the music aside. Things that we couldn't make work, and we put them aside and maybe think about them, say, for the next album or something like that. But we don't, in general, have too much material because our songs are so fucking long anyway. but with this project, it is very efficient. The songs are probably, I guess, on average, 5-6 minutes, I believe. He's got quite a focused mindset when it comes to writing. So I can't believe how efficient overall in every aspect the writing process has been.
Yeah,
but that's the point. You don't have that many people with different opinions. It's like Tokelichter was always a big compromise of getting many opinions under one roof, and I think the band was at least special to me because of those contrasts and because of those compromises. But at some times it was very, very hard to work with because our guitar player was always he wrote stuff. And he was very critical of himself. He would 2 months later, he would say, "Nah, that song's not good enough. We need to rework everything. We take that riff and then we go from there." And in those 2 months, we had rehearsed it, and we have started to come to like it. And then he would go, and no, we don't do that. We do something different. It was kind of hard at sometimes, and it was a very, very I think the process of writing the album was very stressful in a way. The result was always great, but I think this is what Zen also mentioned at the beginning of the interview. This is a completely different way of writing, and it's kind of it's a relief to do a project and write music like this, to just do it the easy way with no different opinions involved. That's
cool. Very, very creatively liberating, as I think I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
This is why people start side projects in the first place. It's for me, there's avenues, there's a lot of different musical styles that I would like to explore. And this sort of thing was something I couldn't express to my full needs in Neo. So this is kind of an outlet for that. And the more people you have, the more compromise you have. And with this, it's just everything is, I guess, a lot more fluid. And it's not as stressful as was said, but it doesn't mean previous projects, whatever, and it seen in necessarily a negative light, because if you're a musician and you can't compromise, you're either your band is never going to get anywhere, or you might as well be a solo artist.
Yeah. On the topic of exploring different styles of music, etc., I was interested in the way that you described, or that Omega Affinity was described in the all of the Season of Mist PR as black void metal. And initially, I thought, it's a perfect description of the band. But secondly, I was thinking to myself, the adding that word into the in between black and metal, was that intentionally done? Is that almost in a way giving you license to experiment outsides of the realms of true TRVE black metal?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean the word is it's black metal at the musical core, I think, but it doesn't carry the values that many people associate with black metal, and I wanted to separate that, because we are not going into the occult or satanic territory. The real black metal bands can do that. It's just our musical foundation that we base our mutual tastes on, so to speak. And I think
if you even using certain words people subconsciously pick up it. They automatically visualize something that's associated with that particular whatever it is. So if you mention the word void, that can conjure up a number of different images, and straight away you're already going off on a tangent as to, okay, so it's not going to be true black metal, so to speak. So it's going to be something different and something a bit more explorative. And so, words create images, and I think the intention with this project is kind of worked, and we haven't been labelled strictly as, I guess, black metal or condemned, I guess, by elitists and whatnot. So I think that being intentional from the start has been really good for us.
Yeah, I do think it's very interesting where the black metal genre generally is going, though, because I kind of feel like, particularly in the last, say, 5-6 years, I think a lot of the conventions of the genre have kind of been tossed out the window, and in a way, that being done is almost more true to the kind of the core of the genre than
absolutely
an elitist might believe, because I think the core of the genre has always been about freedom. And I think, freedom to do whatever you want. And I think a lot of bands have kind of taken that to the next level. You guys being a great example. I mentioned Ruins of Beverast before. Farsot, I think is a good example of that. And I think it's making for music that's so much more interesting, than a lot of the stuff that came before. I mean, I think all of us will always love, the early Dark Throne, Mayhem albums, but I just think where the black metal genre is moving to creatively, far, I mean, it's just my opinion, but it far supersedes anything that you see in death metal, thrash, anything like that. And I think almost it's because of that almost kind of subconscious approach or mantra that people are adopting, where it's just like, well, black metal is the foundation, and then we layer whatever we want to on top of that. And another good example that comes to mind is the recent Oranzi Pazuzu album, which I thought was fucking fantastic.
I haven't actually listened to that one.
Great one.
Mate, it is unbelievable.
Yes,
I would say, along with your album, definitely one of the best of the year. But how did your deal with Season of Mist come about? Because I mean, and again, I might be wrong here, but I would, imagine Season of Mist is a more prolific label at the very least than the labels that your other projects are on.
Well, Nebulous Chorus is on Season of Mist, so.
However,
that's my fuck up. I will keep that in though.
However, I mean, that's not necessarily how we got it. I mean, it may have, I guess, raised some eyebrows in terms of the interest with Neo already being on the label and kind of the association and I guess recognition in that regard. But that would have played a small aspect in it, because Michael, I guess the CEO of Season Mist, is he's open-minded, but at the time he's very fussy in regards to which band. So regardless, if my band was shit, he would have essentially said no.
Yes, definitely.
I don't know why I had it in my head that you guys were on a different label, but like I said, that's my I'm going to blame that on coronavirus, which which I was going to ask you guys about, because we spoke about musical freedom, but obviously lyrically, this is far more intellectual than the average Enthroned album, the average record.
All right.
And you're exploring a lot of different themes on this album, and one of the phrases that I read in relation to that was the exploring the roots of our existence. I mean, firstly, can you talk to me just about where kind of some of this interest comes from, and what just loosely speaking some of the themes are that you're covering on this record, and then I have a few questions after that as well.
Okay. Let me counter with a question. How can you not be interested in that? I mean, it's like, for me, it's fascinating. We are living on a small speck in the universe somewhere, but the whole thing is so big. And I like to, in an artistic way, I like to zoom out and watch the whole masterpiece, the whole painting. Like if the universe were a painting, like Earth is such a small place to be, the whole painting is so much more fascinating. So I like to step back and watch the big picture. And I said at the beginning that two bands sparked the the creation of the band, Consu and Absolutum. But there was something else, a third aspect, and that's called a small program called Space Engine, actually, which I have been using for a few years now. And that's kind of of a universe simulator. So you can, it's not really a game, it's like more of you can fly around, you can like zoom in on planets, you can zoom out, you can watch the solar systems, you can even zoom out more and more until you are on a galactic scale. So I think the program is fed with all the astronomical data that's available to the public, and beyond that, it's creating procedural algorithmic solar systems and everything. It's kind of fascinating. It works on realistic physics, realistic dimensions, and everything. And it's a great way to meditate if you had a hard working day and you just want to go out there. So this program gave my fascination for space and the universe, gave it like a visual component. So I was able to try it out. It's free. You can. It's like, I'm not advertising now, but you should try it out. Space Engine. It's great. Yeah. It's like it's a free program, and you can just go and fly through the universe. So it's so, I don't know. It's like fascinating to try to imagine what's out there. So this is like. I think I forgot the question now. I
was about to say, if you
loves the space
up with an answer there, you would have gone. What really inspired the lyrics to this was Grand Theft Auto 5.
I got carried away.
We mentioned coronavirus, and if you think about it philosophically, how do you think, or where do you think coronavirus fits into the tapestry that's created by all these questions around our existence, our purpose on Earth, etc.? Because you have people that go down the conspiracy theory route, people that kind of the environmentalists that say it's Earth fighting back, all of that shit. So what are your if you have to look at it philosophically, what's your take on it?
I guess it would be like equilibrium in a way. Everything's balanced out. So I'm not a religious man. But I have like beliefs in. I have beliefs in like this kind of bigger picture. I think everything in nature has some sort of reason to be there. I can't really explain it. It's like I think it's.
Well,
I think it's a way to get to create some kind of equilibrium. It's a hard word for a German.
Maintain balance.
Maintain balance in a way. I mean, I don't see it like it's not like punishment from a higher power or whatever. It just happens. That's nature, and we have just been carelessly living on the planet as if it's
everything has a reaction. You kind of continually destroy something, steal resources, and due to those imbalances, you're going to have some sort of change somewhere along the line. So, for you, it's cause and react. Like if you go and, I don't know, and someone ends up dying and then being filled up in the earth then consumes them, and there's some sort of change there, and it affects us all in whatever way. I mean, that's a vague kind of, I guess, description, but where the human race is kind of, I guess this is kind of wake-up call to people in general to kind of realize that we're not that important in the whole scheme of things. Where we're just merely a small aspect to this world and the universe itself. So for us to think we're any more important than anything else is completely, ignorant.
Self-indulgent, I think, is
the basic premise should be that we as humans, how do we want to live on this planet so that the planet can sustain us and can sustain all other living forms. And I think we are too, in my personal opinion, I think humans are too self-centered to try to grasp the bigger picture, to everything you do has consequences in a small way. It's like the old saying, like if a fly sits down on the ocean surface, then the ocean on the whole Earth, the ocean level gets higher just a little tiny bit. So I think if people say like humans are destroying the planet, I think that's wrong. We are not destroying the planet. The planet will be long after us. We are destroying the environment that is able to sustain us that is able to sustain mankind. Yeah. And I think this is something that we should care more about. How can we sustain all the living forms on the planet? Not the least ourselves, because what we're doing now is kind of, I think, in the big picture, it's kind of self-destructive.
Yeah. I think, I mean, if you want to, I'm going to sound like a real hippie when you say this, but I think you just made a very good point about, we're not destroying the planet, and we're actually destroying the gifts the planet gave us.
Yes.
In order to exist as a species.
We are not destroying the planet because, look at Mars. It's a desert, but it's still there. It's a planet. If Earth would be a desert, then it wouldn't have humans on it, but it would still be Earth.
Yeah.
So what we are doing is we are destroying our environment that sustains us and all other living forms.
Ultimately destroying ourselves.
Yeah. The planet will be there millions of years after us. So
yeah. The interesting thing about this also is if you take it down to a granular level and just everyday life, I think what I'm most amused by is how shocked people seem by all of this, and everyone goes, well, life will never be the same. It's like, well, guys, if you think about human history, life has never the period that we've lived in for the last, say, 5 decades. So essentially 1947 to about 2017. 2 generations. Never ever like that, ever. We're actually going back to what life was like. What's saying globalism goes away, borders go up, trade routes are compromised, supply chains are changed, or supply chains are localized. So actually, in many ways, this we've kind of been part of this what you could reasonably see as a boom, but it's almost like we took advantage of the boom. And now it's come back to bite us. We took too much advantage of it. The people started the greed that was brought about by the boom resulted in people, as you've spoke, or as we've just said, actually, taking raping the planet completely, because the greed is self-perpetuating. So the greater the greed gets, the more they start extracting resources and just destroying the planet. I mean, you've seen those fucking plastic rivers and stuff in Indonesia and Thailand and things like that. And then as you say, it's almost like this disease comes in, and it's like, okay, well, since you guys couldn't handle life with that level of opulence, now it's going to be taken away, and you're going to go back to the way things were.
In a way, I mean, it's like it's the period you mentioned, like 50 years or so. I think it happens in almost a biblical style, because in the Bible it's like I said I'm not religious, but I still read the Bible just out of interest.
Yeah.
Although I skipped a few pages in the Old Testament because it goes only like genealogy all the way. But it's like it's like God comes to the people and tell them, okay, believe in me, and you won't suffer, everything will be great. And then the people have a good life, and they start to say, okay, we have a good life, so why do we need God? And then God gets angry, punishes everyone. Everyone's like humble again. Oh, please help us. And God comes again. Okay, if you believe in me, you'll have a good life. So start believing again. Yeah. And the cycle goes on and goes on. I guess what I'm saying is throughout human history, you have like those cycles where you have big catastrophes like the world wars or famine or plagues or whatever. And I think it happens. I mean, I haven't data to back it up now, but I think it's always like 2 generations. I think those things happens when the generations die that could tell the young how it was back in the days when it was not a great life. Like when they, I mean, the people who experienced the Second World War are now dying. There are only a few left, so you don't have first-hand experience. And I think the generation that's living now, it's like almost they live in decadence because they have never experienced bad life. They have never experienced hardships or that you should ration your food or whatever after war. So as you said, it's all about greed. It's all about more and more and more. And I think this is coming to a full circle now.
Yeah.
That the greed has become too much, that it has like amassed in a way that you have an environment where the virus now can thrive on.
It's interesting too. You mentioned the war. The thing that I found most insane, because I'm massively interested in history generally, but particularly the First and Second World Wars. The thing that I found the most distasteful was how people in the media, etc., have been describing this as our Second World War. It's like, what? You're sitting at home with fucking broadband and Netflix. You got all the food, all the food you want. You need to watch a couple of documentaries or read a couple of books on what the Second World War was like before you start comparing. This, which is in the grand scheme of things, a minor inconvenience.
Yes.
To
so far.
Yeah, so far.
Yes.
Well, I mean, there's some people that think this is going to turn into 12 monkeys and we're going to live underground. But yeah, I mean, so far a minor inconvenience to what happened on this planet less than 100 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I think having that. Well, a lot of people don't have a reference for that many years ago as to what happened, and these days a lot more people are kind of completely disregarding history. And I think history is one of the most important things to learn. You need to learn where everything's come from. Where how technology's developed, why countries are divided how they are, and how they're set up how they are. And I think it's. I mean, I'm very much into history as well, and funnily enough, I have a big interest in kind of pandemics and like the Great Plague, Justinian Plague, all that sort of thing. So it's all kind of quite fascinating for me to kind of understand all this, and just to see everyone completely, I guess making fun of everything and worried about the small things, why they can't go out and get wasted on the weekend, or it's completely ridiculous. And I think people need to take a step back to kind of realize the gravity of how things have come to be where they are now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And by the way, I think just out of curiosity, any books or any documentaries or anything about pandemics that you would recommend people watch or read, I should say as well?
I mean, I haven't really watched too many sort of kind of things on TV or anything. I don't really watch much TV. But in terms of books, there's quite a number of, I guess, plague books you can kind of look up. I've got a pile somewhere, but my kind of interest. I mean, I have a lot of interest in all sorts of diseases, but primarily, Black Death is kind of my biggest kind of, I guess, interest in history. How the kind of devastation that kind of wreaked across Europe primarily. And I mean, after this, I can probably send you a list of books that you can sift through that would probably interest you. I don't. It's. I mean, I've got quite a big pile of books on that sort of subject. So it's kind of, I don't know. Inviting people over to my place might be a bit strange. I see all the content that I have, but this sort of thing, pandemics and that sort of thing have been around for many years. They come, they go, they're all around. The plague itself is still active, particularly in places like Madagascar. I mean, we have a lot of the medicine, whatever, now to kind of deal with that sort of thing, but they're still around.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question, and this is stepping into controversial territory, but based on your knowledge of pandemics, and the fact that I agree with you, it comes and it they tend to come in cycles. We had swine flu, we had H1N1, we had SARS. Do you agree with the approach the governments have taken? Do you agree with the lockdown?
Well, I mean, if you want less people to die, then I agree with lockdowns, absolutely. I mean, if you're not in contact with someone, then you can't potentially die ultimately. You're not at risk from dying. I mean, you may, a lot of people get symptoms and that sort of thing, and they're not even aware that, and it comes, it goes, and it doesn't really affect them, but other people potentially die from it. I mean, you get people that die from the flu, and there's a hell of a lot of cases every year where people will die from them. It's about the lockdown is ultimately about reducing the overall risk to everyone in general. I mean, if you want to die, don't go and kind of expose yourself to it. You're just increasing the risk.
Yeah.
So if you want to live a healthy life, that kind of isolation, that sort of thing is very effective. I mean, you have what we have in Australia now, where we're already lifting a lot of kind of restrictions, because overall we probably had close to about 8,000 infection cases, and now we're getting barely any sort of infections each day now. And I mean, granted, our population isn't as, I guess, dense overall, say, compared to places in Europe or the US, the US is doing horrifically at the moment. But for us, we're kind of we had restrictions quite early on in the piece. I mean, it may not have been as, I guess, potentially efficient as what I would have potentially done if I probably would have been the worst prime minister. But it's there's a lot of people don't realize there's so many different factors involved in shutting down a country ultimately.
Yeah.
People don't realize that it's not just one thing. You shut down something and all these things are affected. Economy is affected, and there's so many different aspects people have to look at. So it's quite easy to judge and have a go at governments for not doing things quicker and that sort of thing, but you don't know the whole story behind the scenes. And I guess the smart thing to do is just to, if you don't want to get infected, ultimately isolate yourself. So I have no problem in the whole quarantine. Ultimately, the quarantine process.
I mean, it's only going for a few weeks now. I mean, if we go back to the Second World War, I mean, that thing lasted for like 7-8 years. That's nothing. Like those 6 to 8 weeks we have now, some countries longer, some countries not that long. It's nothing. It's just, as we said, a minor inconvenience. That's all. So this is far from being something that's really hard on people, except of course for those, and I mean, I see this, that a lot of self-employed people have problems now, have financial problems because they can make income. That's all very, very terrible and very sad, but ultimately I think a lot of people dying would be even far worse.
And I broadly agree with the both of you. I think the one statistic I read that gave me pause for thought, and I need to verify the validity of this, but I can kind of see that it's certainly true to a degree, and it feeds into what Zen said earlier about the ripple effect through everything inside of a country, the entire kind of fabric of a country. But that is that for every 1% decline in GDP, your annualized death rate goes up by 40,000. And I think that statistic was for the UK. So you would imagine it's exponentially higher in the US. Now, if the UK is going to see their economy contract by 6% this year, which is in my view, a probably slightly too optimistic estimate. You're talking about 240,000 people that are potentially going to die because of that. So the question, therefore, then is this kind of moral and ethical dilemma: was the lockdown a good idea? We've had, I stand under correction here, but I think our latest count is somewhere 15 or 16,000 people died. Was it worth locking down the country and risking all the people dying or the economic devastation that comes after for the people that you might save at the front, up front, or was the lockdown the way to go? I'm sorry, I know I'm probably saying that in the most fucking clunky way, man.
I think it's a sense question there.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's what people value, I guess. You've got life or death. If there's, what do you value more? At the end of the day, it's granted, it's going to be quite a struggle for a lot of people afterwards financially and that sort of thing. But there's a potential for them to actually survive after that and get on their feet again, that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, they still have their life, they still have their loved ones alive. But if you're dead, what does it matter?
Yeah, exactly. If you suffer through this financially and after this, okay, you're poor. That's very sad and terrible, but you're still alive. You're not dead. If you're dead, you're dead. So that's it. I think I don't question the lockdown measurements, because if it saves life, then it's a good way to go. And it makes sense because, those infections spread. The larger the masses are, and it's all about statistics and potential here. Potentially, this could go like people could die at an exponential rate. Potentially. Yeah. But the thing is, the lockdown. I think the lockdown has. Most of the countries have, except for Sweden, have those lockdown measurements in place, and I think that's the way to go to make the whole point is about, because everyone is supposed to get ill anyway at some point, but the whole point is to not let everyone be ill at the same time, because that would be the catastrophe, and I think for that the lockdown was a good thing. I know that people are dissatisfied. If you hear there are starting to demonstrations here and there in the US, they start demonstrating against the measurements. In Germany, we have also demonstrations against this. But I think the whole point is to prevent something. But also someone said, there was a great sentence I read somewhere, there is no glory in prevention. Because you don't know what you have prevented, people won't ever know.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good quote. That I just looked at the recent numbers. The recent numbers are 29,000 in the UK, 6,900 in Germany, and I think 3 or 2,000 something in Sweden. Sweden's approach really fascinates me, though, because they're one of the only places. Sweden is 2,854, but they were one of the only places that never completely locked down.
But I talked to the area I work in. It's like I work for a big music distributor, and I'm talking to people in different countries about the measurements of lockdowns. Just because I need to know where I still can ship goods and everything. So
Yeah.
I'm talking to those people, and I was talking to 2 of my Swedish partners, and they said like they feel, I mean, stores and everything are open, but the people are kind of confused if they should go there. Like they are afraid, what happens if I go there? And so I think that's happening all around the world right now. People are confused; they don't know what to do, and I don't think, because this is something that is, I think, unprecedented in at least our lifetimes of everything, of everyone who's living on the planet right now. We never had such a big worldwide pandemic before. Except, I mean, we had that like in 1918, I think, Spanish flu.
Yeah.
Was it? But I don't suppose there are too many people who experienced that firsthand. Only a handful, maybe. So this is kind of new for everyone and for all politicians as well. I don't believe that, like Bill Gates conspires with the lizard man to vaccine us all or something and to implement chips.
We're gonna wear the mark of the beast because
I don't think
it's gonna have us injected.
I don't think that the politicians have a hidden agenda here, because I think they are as helpless as everyone else in how to best prevent a big humanistic catastrophe.
Yeah, and I agree with what Zen said earlier. I can't imagine how fucking shit it would be to be a politician and have to make that decision. Like, right, I'm going to basically torpedo my country's economy.
Yeah,
because that's what a lot of countries have had to do. So the decision between switching the taps off and kind of keeping everything going, I think I can't imagine how difficult that would have been.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in those shoes.
Fuck no. On that very cheerful note, I want to ask you guys one last question, then I'm going to let you go. I'm a fucking huge fan of Killing Joke, so when I saw the cover at the end of the record, I was like, "Yep, no, I like the way these guys think." What made you decide to include that cover? And actually, obviously, I think we probably share an appreciation of Killing Joke's music anyway. But that song in particular, I was curious about because typically speaking, when people cover bands, they will always kind of dig into the earlier parts of the catalog. Whereas Hosannas from the Basements of Hell is probably, as far, I don't even think they have any of those songs on their set list at the moment, which is a shame because it's a fucking fantastic record. But yeah, that song in particular, what was the draw?
Straightforwardness, I think. This is like Killing Joke were always straightforward in a way, but this one takes the cake, at least to me. It's like it's just pushing and brutal and very relentless in a way. I think with Killing Joke, it's fascinating how they have become more and more aggressive over time, and not like slowing down and getting settled as songwriters, or it's like they get more angry with each record, and this is kind of fascinating. And those particular song is like, I don't know what it is, it just sticks in your head. It's like pushing all the time, and it's got a hook that doesn't leave your head.
Yeah. I agree with you about them getting more aggressive, and their live shows as well are just so fucking intense. I've seen them a couple of times now, and when they do, even some of the older songs like Exorcism or something like that, Jazz loses his fucking mind, and the guy's in his, he's I think 63 or 64 years old. So the level of energy that guy still has is fucking nuts.
Yes, he is a maniac in a good way.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, one thing I couldn't believe, and I know I end up talking about them on most shows purely because I love their live shows so much, but I couldn't believe that Till from Rammstein's like 57 years old.
Yeah, and it's been going for a while.
Yeah, well, he also, apparently he's got quite a temper, because there was that story that came out about him breaking some guy's nose with an elbow to his face in a hotel, because he didn't like the way the guy was talking to the women that he was with at the time. But anyway, right, guys, I need to go. I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for your time. I really hope we are going to see a lot more from Omega Infinity. I very much look forward to that, and when you guys do that again, let's definitely get back on. I'll definitely want you guys to come back on if you're up for some more shit talking.
Well,
hopefully the pandemic will be over by then.
For sure.
If all goes well, then you won't have to wait that long.
Brilliant. Well, yeah. Well, this is the thing. If you want to look for silver linings in anything, I've said this to many people. Can you imagine how many bands are busy writing albums right now? I mean, I saw Telok posted on Instagram the other day. They're writing new Mayhem music. Everybody who's everybody is busy with something right now, because what else are you going to do?
Yeah, I made a comment online a little while ago about I'm interested to see how many one-man black metal albums are going to be released or written in this time.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, my big wish, and I've made many comments on Telok's Instagram and Facebook for this. I wish he would do another fucking Nadinger album. I thought that last record they did was an absolute masterpiece. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what they do next there. But who knows? We'll see. Guys, thank you so much. I hope you guys stay safe and healthy. And I'll talk to you guys, and look forward to hearing what you do again soon.
Thank you very much.
All the best. so much to Zen and Tentakel for coming onto the show. Yeah, I had such a great time talking to those guys. If it wasn't patently obvious before, I really fucking love what Omega Infinity have done with this debut record, and I'm really looking forward to what they do next. And yes, I did royally fuck up by letting it slip my aged mind that Neo Obliviscaris is on Season of Mist as well. But like I have said, since the very start of the show, 40 years old, I don't have to remember names anymore. No, I don't have to remember details like that any longer. Okay, let's talk about the new Ruins of Beverast split EP. And the split EP is with a band from Iceland whose name I cannot pronounce. So I will let Google do it for me. The band that Ruins of Beverast have recorded or have released their split EP with is called Almyrkvi. Almyrkvi is very cool. I don't actually, I must confess, I don't really know their music, or I didn't know their music before this EP. So I do know that they've put out some stuff previously, and I will certainly be checking it out after hearing this. They did put out a full length in 2017 called Umbra, according to Metal Encyclopedia. I mean, I don't know what's going on in Iceland because it's, as far as I know, a country that's got relatively decent standard of living, beautiful women. It's cold, but beautiful scenery, beautiful nature, and yet somehow it seems to be churning out black metal bands, and not just black metal bands, period, but fucking sensational black metal bands at an absolutely exponential rate. And hold on. Almyrkvi is one of those bands. This split EP starts with two of their tracks. The first being Asumatus Grove, which kind of starts off almost sounding a little bit like Blut aus Nord of one of my favorite Blut aus Nord records, which was the let's find the name because I will forget it otherwise. And I have mentioned it on the show before as well. It was the Cosmosophy album. As a matter of fact, actually, the kind of opening lead on that song could very easily have come off Hallucinogen as well. But as soon as that lead is kind of settled, the song then brings in some of the sort of blackened death metal that again that I said earlier on the show I really like. And then that leads into a song that is part progressive, part really heavy, and part atmospheric, and all fucking awesome. Almyrkvi then do their two tracks, and then we get to the Ruins of Beverast. This is the second split EP they've released this year. The first one was the split with Morning Beloved, which was very good. It's interesting with these two songs. So there's two tracks. One is called The Grand Nebula Pulse. One's called Hunters. For me personally, Hunters reminds me a bit of some of the earlier Ruins of Beverast work. And when I say earlier, I mean kind of first and second records, so Unlock the Shrine and Rain Upon the Impure. And then the Grand Nebula Pulse is for me a lot more like Exuvia, and maybe it actually reminds me a bit of the cover that they did on the Tacitum Totem EP that they put out before Exuvia, of Pink Floyd's Set Your Control for the Heart, Set Your Control for the Heart of the Sun, I think the song is called. I love both tracks. I'm partial to the Grand Nebula Pulse. I really hope this is a kind of a prelude to what they are going to do or what Alexander is going to do with the next Ruins of Beverast record. But either way, this for me is this release generally, and it's actually 42 minutes long, so it's not exactly a split EP. There's full length records that are shorter than that. But this just continues a run of just exceptional form by Van Records. And I know I talk about Season of Mist a lot, but Van Records, Debum Morty, and Apocalyptic Witchcraft are most certainly in that conversation as well, in terms of my favorite metal labels at the moment. So anyway, I'm going to go with a long one, but a fucking great one. This is the Grand Nebula Pulse by the Ruins of Beverast. was The Grand Nebular Pulse by Ruins of Beverast, off of the split that they have just done with Almyrkvi out of Iceland. And that is available on Van Records. There's a really, really beautiful digipack that they've put together if physical media is still your thing. And actually, on that topic, I know I mentioned and I've probably mentioned it a few times now, but the hi-fi game and the audiophile game, which I'm massively into. I was on my friend Terry Ellis's Pursuit of Perfect System channel on Friday, doing a stream about just basically whether, I think the question was, do music tastes influence your choice of audio equipment or audio gear? And it was a really fun conversation. So if you are interested in hi-fi, you are interested, or you're sick and tired of listening to bands like Ruins of Beverast on shitty little iPhone earphones, then, or earbuds, I should say, then do check out Pursuit of Perfect System. It's very cool, and I had a really, really great time talking to him on the show as well. We did talk about metal, although I think his tastes and mine are at a pretty severe intersection. But anyway, and I also know one band that he wouldn't necessarily care for is the next band I want to talk about. Out of Manchester, here in England, a band called Burial. They have put out their new full-length Satanic Upheaval on Apocalyptic Witchcraft Records, and there's been a lot of hype around this album, and I can certainly see why. Their last album, Unholy Sedition, was extremely well received. Very kind of raw, aggressive, primitive black metal. The Satanic Upheaval album is quite a step up on that record as far as a couple of things are concerned. One, the production's better. Two, I'd say the performances all round are better. Particularly the vocal performance by Derek Carley. And then I think with Satanic Upheaval, they've let a fair bit of they've let their creative juices flow, I think is probably the best way to say it. And you're not going to see, massively expansive electronic soundscapes here. That's never been Burial's thing. But what they do is they kind of bring in some more death metal. They probably take black metal into some interesting different directions, and they've just seemed to have kind of tweaked and refined their approach and probably broadened their palette a little bit, but still within the confines of that black metal, or that raw, grim black metal ethos that Burial has always been known for. And really, this again is another installment in an absolutely fantastic English black metal release schedule that has plagued my eardrums over the last 2 years. I've spoken about Crimson Throne, I've spoken about Abduction. Those bands have both been put out by Apocalyptic Witchcraft. So kudos to those guys for bringing this music to us, and kudos to Burial for putting together a really, really good third record. This is one of my favorite tracks off of that album. It is called Hellish Reaping Screams. Flesh Reaping Screams by Burial off their new record, Satanic Upheaval, which is available right now on Apocalyptic Witchcraft Records. And yeah, I might reach out to those guys and see if they fancy coming on the show, because I love the record, and I'm sure it will make for a pretty interesting conversation. Right, let's talk about some news. So let's just get this. Oh, fuck's sakes! Now my face is obscured by this piece of shit. We'll move it in the corner so that I look like a metal news anchor. There we go. Okay. Swellwork, new single and music video out. I have no idea why anybody still listens to Swellwork. I find them fucking boring as hell. I found them boring as hell literally from the moment they started, and I'm fairly confident that their new record will not change that. Belphegor announced headlining European tour dates. I saw that they have postponed their new record to 2021, which also, and I hate to sound like a fucking grumpy old man, especially on a beautiful day, which I have off work. So in about 2 hours or so after I've finished recording everything for the show and I've edited it together and posted it, I will be playing Anno 1800. But anyways, I hate to sound like a grumpy old man, but Belphegor is another band that, to me, like Swellworks, not the same kind of music, equally boring. Behemoth, new EP released today, launched full stream. I really, really like. At first I didn't like it, then it started to grow on me. Now I fucking love it. That forest cover that they do with Niklas from Shining. I'm sorry, Marco from Stellar Master Elite, because I know you differ from me very sharply on this, but I fucking love it. I think it's really, really cool. And I think the new music sounds pretty promising as well. So I like it. Onslaught, unveiling first single from upcoming album. Who gives a fuck? What else is there? Lamb of God premiere new single, Chuck Billy guests. Man, this is a really cool tune. So, I've been up and down on some of these songs with the new Lamb of God. I knew that I know the record is coming out in June 19th, to be specific. You guys know my thoughts on Chuck Billy, both as a frontman and a vocalist. And he just adds so much to Lamb of God. It's a fantastic guest appearance, or inspired guest appearance, I should say, and one that probably, in my opinion, is long overdue. And I'm looking forward to this album. I still think that Chris's drumming, it feels like there's something a little missing. But I have heard some of the stuff I've heard has been really, really cool. Carnifex reveal new track and visualizer. Carnifex is one of those bands that's just never really done it for me. I don't know why. It's always one of those bands where you can listen to the first half of a song and then, from there on out, just doesn't do anything for me after. I'm not compelled to carry on listening or to ever return to them. Ulthar, revealed track from upcoming full-length. Black death metal trio Ulthar premiere Furnace Hibernation track. All I needed to read on that article was $20 spin. Another label who, basically when they bring out something, I'm immediately interested. I don't really know Ulthar all that well. I am definitely going to check out the song, though. Let's see what else there has been that is worth talking about. Selbst. Oh, I am so fucking psyched about this album. Relatos de Augustia. So they've actually signed to Debemur Morty, which is awesome. I'm super happy for them. I was a massive fan of the Selbst debut that came out in 2017. I've reached out to the guys from Selbst, and I'm hopefully going to have them on the show. I don't know whether they actually have any issues as far as being able to jump on Zoom. I mean, I don't know how. I might be completely wrong here, but I don't know how much information flow is controlled in and out of Venezuela. But either way, this first track that they put out from this record, you can check out on YouTube. It is fucking spectacular. I think this is going to be, in my opinion, one of the contenders for top 10, if not top 5 of 2020. What else is there to talk about? Mushroomhead. Again, I did say last week I made the confession that I liked Wisconsin Death Rope. I actually liked the first Mushroomhead album as well, but God, did that band take a slide down. band who has not taken a slide down, Above Aurora. They also put out a new track last week. And their new album, The Shrine of Deterioration, is coming out on, I think this coming Friday. My God, is this fucking incredible. I mean, their first record was good. The EP they put out after that was absolutely incredible, and it was good enough to get them onto my top 50 favorite black metal list, which those episodes are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you listen to podcasts if you want to check those out. I think it also includes my longest ever episode with Mike from Tombs, where we did counted down the top 10. But anyway, that shit aside, Above Aurora's new record is coming out via Pagan Records. And if it sounds anything like this new track, Barren Law, that they released, strap yourself in. Put on some brown pants, because you're gonna shit yourself. We move on. Karak Angren, Premier Operation Compass. I know Katie Irizarry really liked this, and I've heard a couple of people that like it. I don't. I don't really like anything that. I don't like anything that kind of cute. I don't know if this is the right word. Cutifies black metal in any way, shape, or form. That's part of why I fucking hated Cradle of Filth as much. I mean, I don't really even count them anymore as a black metal band. They're not a black metal band. But just, I don't know, man. Like, I know, these guys kind of, do the whole classic horror thing. It's just, I don't know. It just doesn't do anything for me. I don't care for it. Okay, that's Metal Storm done. Let's check out, instead of going to Blabbermouth, let's check out Metal Injection. So, obviously, first headline on Metal Injection, rock and metal musicians react to George Floyd's death and protests that ensued this weekend. I was pondering whether I was going to talk about this or not. But let me start by saying I've been doing this show for 9 months now, I think. I get about 1,500 to 2,000 downloads per episode on iTunes, and I get, the viewership on YouTube is not massively high. It's about 100 to 150 views per episode, which means, I don't know how many regular listeners I have, but I would say everybody that likes this podcast or that listens to this podcast, I've yet to, in nine months, and touch wood, this is going to stay like this, I've yet to come across a single asshole that listens to the show. No one's ever sent me weird messages about, how, I'm wrong for having a certain opinion, or how dare I say X, Y, Z about their favorite band. None of that childish fucking teeny bopper bullshit. So what I would say, why I say that is, I think everybody that listens to the show is probably, of relatively high intelligence, and I think can have a relatively sober conversation about most things. So I want to share a few observations about this incident, and I'm not going to expand on it too much, because I think there's people that are far better qualified and have far more right to talk about this than I do. I mean, I live in the UK. I have absolutely zero of the shared experience or shared lived experience of anybody in the communities that this has affected. So, I think that's the first thing. Second thing, if I were in charge, those fucking 4 idiot cops that were responsible for killing George Floyd, and let's be clear, yeah, it might have been. Wait, I know one guy's been arrested so far. He might have been the one that was responsible physically for killing him, but those other 3 are responsible just the same. And if I were in charge, I would line all 4 of them up in front of a fucking enclosure where there's crocodiles on one side and lions on the other, and I would tell them they can choose which side they jump into. And I would live stream that to the entire country so that everybody who sees the result will take that away as a deterrent from any future fucking behavior that's in any way, shape, or form close to what those fucking idiots did. Now, that being said, a couple of observations I made on looking at Twitter and looking at various clips over the weekend, and I know from a couple of 20-second clips, on Twitter, you can't exactly form a full picture of what happened. But what I saw a lot of were peaceful protests being hijacked by masked fucking morons that looked distinctly A, white, and B, like they don't come from the neighborhoods and the communities which they were burning down and fucking trashing. And I also saw multiple videos of people from that community or people that were part of the peaceful protests begging these fucking idiots to stop spray painting shit on the walls, stop burning things, stop smashing the street. And these people were just not caring. What I also noticed was that these same middle-class white wannabe revolutionaries were nowhere to be seen on the video clips the next day when people from the community came out and started sweeping up and started trying to clean things up. So, for anybody who's encouraging this violence and all this crazy bullshit and these riots, if you're so in favor of this, then burn down your own fucking house, fuck up your own neighborhood, because I can't imagine if something bad had happened to my community and I was already hurting about that. I can't imagine how shit it would be for things to then for insult to then be added to injury, where the shops around me, people's livelihoods are being destroyed. My neighborhood is being fucked up and, turned into something that looks like it's, straight out of I Am Legend. I'm afraid to walk outside in the street because there's fucking masked hooded lunatics running around with 2x4s that'll, fuck me up, just because they don't like the look of me. So, to those wannabe revolutionaries, and we know who they are, fuck you. Go burn down your own fucking house. To everybody who's from those communities, if anybody happens to be watching the show, all I can say is I hope that this leads to two things. Number one, I hope there's an awakening now to the reality of police brutality, and that there's going to be preventative measures put in place to ensure this sort of shit doesn't happen again, whether that's, more stringent psychological profiling, cops having to wear cameras and things like that. And let's be honest, I would say the vast majority of police don't join the police because they're fucking racist hooligans ready to kill people. I generally do believe, because I know a lot of people in the police, I genuinely do believe that, people join the police because they want to help society and they want to help communities and they want to keep criminals off the streets. So, but let's hope that preventative measures are put in place to ensure that scumbags like, the guys that were responsible for George Floyd's death are dealt with before tragedy can escalate to a point that it has over the last week. And then the second thing is, I hope that the damage done to the community these communities and these neighborhoods is repaired, that, the government's put enough money into, fixing up those communities and rebuilding those communities, to where they are more prosperous, safer, and, just generally happier and better than they were before. And there's nothing really else much to say. As far as all the musicians and the celebrities talking about it, I saw some that, surprisingly, I agreed with what they were saying. Even John Corabi was actually spoke some sense. I think in a rare, very rare fucking moment for him. But for people that were encouraging this violence and this craziness, I saw John Cusack, the actor, say, he hopes it everything burns until Trump flies away in a helicopter. Fuck you, you fucking privileged, entitled asshole. It's not your neighborhood being fucked up. It's not your life being ruined. But anyway, yeah. So I hope, like I said, I didn't want to talk about it too much. I know there's a lot of people that have a lot more to say about this than I do, and that have a lot more right to talk about this than I do. But I thought I would at least comment on it, because everybody is going to be talking about this right now. Right, next, rapper Ghost Domain releases Low-Fly black metal album, and it's good. I listened to this. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's good. I don't really know Ghost Domain's rap. I do listen to hip hop, as I've said on the show a couple of times. Although I do believe that 98% of hip hop released after 1993 is worthless. But kudos to this dude for actually putting out a black metal album, because I like the fact that he kind of just seems to do what he wants. The project is called Black Mage, and yes, it is definitely black metal. There's 3 songs that he's put out: Evil Lives, Stuck in the Hard Place, and To the Grave. Of those 3, I think Stuck in the Hard Place is probably my favorite, and maybe I'll play it on the show at some point in the future. Yeah, I mean, it's not it's not it's not going to make my fucking top 10 list at any point. But fair play to him if he put that out. And like I said, I wouldn't say it's good, but it certainly has promise. This In Flame show from 1999 rules. I've been to 2 In Flame shows, both times I left in the space of 3 songs. They are fucking wank live. This I was excited about. Job for a Cowboy teasing a comeback. I really always thought these guys got a very raw deal. And, they were called a MySpace band, and, people were just fucking complete and utter assholes about them, even though they had, in my opinion, a hell of a lot of potential and talent. And, their last record, which I think was called Genesis, if I'm not mistaken, whatever it was called. Sun Eater, was fucking excellent. Really, really cool. I mean, they went totally away from the deathcore stuff. They had the sort of fretless bass, almost kind of slightly proggy sound, but still heavy as shit, super catchy. I really, really liked that last record, and I for one am very excited about them doing a comeback. And that's pretty much it, unless you guys want to hear my opinion on Morbid Angel's Rapture as a Radio Disney song. But I mean, fuck, I don't. All of that, like I said, all of that cutesy shit has no place in metal. Metal's not for laughing. Metal's for staring stoically into the distance and listening to. Okay, that is me done for the week. Thank you very much for tuning in. I don't yet have a guest lined up for next week. So I've sent out some emails. Let's see who replies. Maybe I'll go it alone. Maybe I'll ring up Marco from Stellar Master Elite and see if he wants to come on. But wherever you are right now, whatever it is you're doing, I hope you're staying safe, healthy, and well. From the mean streets of Surbiton on the outskirts of London, I am wishing you all a fond farewell.